650 AM KDEI, Port Arthur. In Ohio on 88.7 FM WHJM Anna. 1600 AM WULM Springfield with translator W277AO. 103.3 FM Eden Dayton. In Pennsylvania on 88.1 FM WHHN Holly-Daysburg, Altoona. In Wisconsin on 91.3 FM WRMW Peshtigo. And in Mississippi, also on 88.1 FM WOLM D'Iberville, Biloxi.
Hello and welcome to Catholic Answers Today. I am Cy Kellett, your host, and I should begin by saying a very blessed and happy Advent to you because as of Vespers Saturday night, it is Advent, and welcome to the show. So happy to have you with us. Catholic Answers, just so you know, is an apologetics apostolate. Apologetics meaning we explain and defend the Catholic faith. That's all we do. And we try to keep it very close to the catechism. We're not an opinion organization and all that. We try to help people know the true faith just by giving answers. And you're always welcome to call 888-318-7884 is the number directly into this studio, and we would love to have a conversation with you. If you have any questions about the Catholic faith, you're always welcome to call. You don't have to be Catholic. 888-318-7884. My co-host for today's show is Assistant Producer Marie. Assistant Producer Marie, thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
And you did a really good job getting a guest for our show.
I can explain.
How you got such a fine guest?
Yes, he's just that generous and giving with his time. Today we're joined by Father Hugh Barber, who is our chaplain here at Catholic Answers. He is a Norbertine priest and a wonderful homilist. Fun fact.
Yep.
Father, thank you for joining us.
Good to be here.
And we don't call them homilies when Father gives them. We call them humilies because he's Father Hugh. But are they still posting these online?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't know.
And I won't say I don't care, but I just would rather not think about it.
Oh, because we have Mass each morning here at Catholic Answers, and I know they record the humilies, and they were putting them online, but we don't. So we don't bother you with those.
Doing
Not
that for
all
a
of
little
not
while.
all of them are for export.
Yeah, right. When you're giving us particular exhortation about what poor Christians we are, and that's not for the public to know.
Or when
about.
I just depart from
or when you
the
depart.
mere catechism.
I
my
see.
own
When you
opinions.
put your own opinions in there, fair enough. So, am I right to say that Advent began Vespers on Saturday night?
Advent for the Roman Rite of the Catholic Church began at First Vespers, Saturday night. First Vespers are the Vespers of the night before a feast day or a Sunday, and so that's exactly correct. But in other usages in the Church, Advent is much longer.
Yeah.
And I wish we had it that way too.
What does that mean in other uses? No, you mean
Other
not
uses,
the
for example, the Ambrosian Rite, which is the Church of Milan, which is in use today. That starts after the Feast of St. Martin on November 11th. So
Okay.
it's 6 weeks long, like Lent. And in the Byzantine Rite and the Eastern Rites, it starts on their Feast of St. Philip, which is it's the 15th of November. It's a longer Advent. And that's the one thing I always felt like in the Roman Rite, we were a little cheated because it's just so short.
It is very short.
Yeah, and I like Advent more than I like Lent.
Was there a purpose to? I love Advent.
Yeah, it's much better than
Such a beautiful time
Right.
of waiting and prayer. But what was the reason for making it only 4 weeks?
Well, it's just they didn't make it only for weeks. It's just in the Roman Rite. The Roman Rite was always the most conservative in adopting innovations or additions among the different rites,
Okay.
and so the Roman Rite Lent was originally kind of shorter, and the Advent came later and whatnot. Whereas the other usages, they tended to influence each other more and adopt new practices, and so it's just a question of that it's a more ancient form. That's all.
But the Ambrosian Rite. I'm going to get to Advent, but I'm just interested. That's Saint Ambrose,
Right, it's
great
called
ancient-
Ambrosian Rite because St. Ambrose is a great bishop of Milan.
Yeah.
But it's the Milanese version of basically the Latin Rite, but they have their own version of it. They have their own reading cycle and prayers and whatnot. And then also in the Mozarabic Rite, which is the Rite of Toledo in Spain, they also have the long 6-week Advent as well. Right, and that's still in use, you know.
Yeah.
St. Ambrose, we don't really get bishops the way we got him anymore. They're not making bishops like Ambrose anymore.
Well, Ambrose was
he wasn't even baptized.
Was appointed bishop, and he was a Roman provincial official.
Yeah, in the so this would be like what, the 4th century?
Fifth century, yeah. 5th century, and of course he wasn't baptized, but that's because ordinarily baptism was deferred, you know, in those days, especially for someone that had public office.
We might have to do some things that
so that they could be
that they'd want to be cleansed
right
of
at the
later.
End of their
They
life.
might have to shed some blood, you know.
Oh, I
right?
see,
So
yeah.
they
Okay, so
they avoided office, but he was already a brilliant rhetorician, and eminently qualified for the job. So.
boy, was he!
Yeah.
I mean, he brought Saint Augustine into the church,
Right.
or helped. And Saint Monica always thought of him as an angel that had come to save her son.
But
Okay, so enough about Saint Ambrose because we're
well, he's pretty important, and actually, a lot of the things that we do during Advent go back to him in the sense that he's the first one to import into the Latin liturgy, the Western Church, the singing of poetic hymns. Because the Latin Church was very conservative, and it only sang psalms, scriptural texts. So the Eastern Church had lots and lots of nice new compositions of hymns in meter and everything and whatnot. And Augustine mentions this in Confessions that he was completely moved because in the Church of Milan, the people had been learning these beautiful hymns. And so at the beginning of Advent, we experience some of them. At least in the Latin liturgy, that beautiful. We always associate Advent and Christmas with beautiful hymns. So,
boy, we do.
Goes back to Ambrose.
All right, so both you said you didn't say that you like it better than Lent, but you, Father Hugh Barber, you said you like Advent better than Lent. Give us a little treatise on why. That's
Well,
the
I mean,
case.
that's just it. It's I mean, of course, Lent is the more ancient season, and in some sense, the more important one because it's the preparation for the Feast of the Resurrection, which is the principal feast of the year. But Advent has that whole beautiful, poetic feeling of longing, you know, the prophets and waiting.
Yes, right. So you get that sense of messianic
Right,
longing,
along with kind of like the sweetness of the expectation of Our Lady's birth,
yeah.
birth giving. So it's kind of there are lots of things that go along with it, along with the way our culture is, where those are your childhood memories. That's like your first liturgical memories are Christmas,
Yeah,
pretty much.
yeah,
you know?
right.
Yeah. And it doesn't get very cold here in San Diego, but
Are you kidding? It was 46 degrees when I came out this morning. I almost died. It was.
If you were in
46.
Minnesota, you'd be walking in shorts outside
Right.
with a T-shirt.
I'm not. But I'm not in Minnesota.
it doesn't, I mean, it doesn't get very cold
freezing.
here. But when you've grown up here, it's definitely colder at nights. And so, you know, sitting around the fire, praying with your family,
Yeah.
anticipating Christmas is really special feeling.
We don't say fire in California anymore.
Oh.
That's a bad
That's
word
a
here
trigger
now.
word.
Yeah, it's a
Hearth, around the hearth,
Around the hearth
around the hearth.
since the entire state has burned
of
down, we've
unlit
stopped
logs.
using the word fire.
Yes.
Right.
All right. So, Father, what am I doing in Advent? Am I just remembering Jesus' birth in Bethlehem? Am I B, kind of preparing myself to welcome him into my heart in a special way at Christmas, or am I C, anticipating the coming of Christ at the end, at the consummation of all things?
You are D, all of the above.
Oh, I should have given you a D. I'm sorry, I didn't give you that choice.
You're in
See,
the
there you are. Well, you're repeating the authoritative interpretation of Advent from Saint Bernard of Clairvaux.
You
in the
know
12th century-
everything.
in the
Yes,
12th
He
century.
knows
I love
everything.
Saint
Okay,
Bernard.
and so he put that together, and that's the first reading in Advent, practically in the Liturgy of the Hours, at least the current Liturgy of the Hours. And so Advent actually begins at the end, because it begins with the second coming, with the coming of our Lord at the end of time, and then it proceeds on to the coming of the Savior in Bethlehem. and of course then that spiritual birth, which is referred to continually in the prayers, especially more of the Christmas season, with readings from the letters of John. So it's sort of a continuing theme.
It's interesting that Bernard of Clairvaux too was for his period, he was particularly a Marian person. He really emphasized love of Mary. Mm-hmm. Is that related to his understanding of Advent and I guess Mary is the exemplar of the Christian life for us in Bernard's view.
Right, but you have to consider the exemplar is a good word, but it sounds, people might not get it. It's not just example, like I look at her and I follow her example. That's a little dry.
Okay.
All right. In the medieval understanding and the traditional Catholic philosophical understanding, to be an example is to be a cause of the things that are happening and the things that imitate you.
Right.
You know, it's the Platonic idea. You know, you have the heavenly order, and so your life is an imitation of Christ, but that means that He's causing your life to be conformed to His. That's why we have the sacraments, and that's why we meditate on the truths of the faith. And so, when you say Our Lady is the exemplar, it also means that she's an effective cause.
Right.
We call it an exemplary cause, but a cause.
Yeah.
So it's not just like we're looking and going, well, I'll imitate that. Where does that leave us? Do we have the power to do that? We don't. We need the grace. We need an efficacious agent to do that for us, move us. And that's what she does. So it's very important to keep that in mind. That when we say we follow her example, it means that she's moving us to do what she did.
So if Advent, so you're this Norbertine priest, and you've been the prior for years and years of your Norbertine Abbey, St. Michael's, up in Orange County, and you're this theologian and philosopher and all that. Okay, so
all right, keep flattering him and then ask the question.
That's the Italian response.
Means forget it. Leave it. Let it go. Yeah. Okay, so and then the Italians have different ways of intoning it, right? That have
right, but
different
it's all a dialect version of the word bene.
Ben.
It's like,
okay, well, whatever. Okay, so, but with all of that, Father, what do you maybe wish people would get about Advent, or you feel like, that people need to understand this about the Advent season? I wish people would be more connected to this aspect of the Advent season.
Well, it's I'll say something that's not exactly LC. It's not liturgically correct nowadays.
Oh, I didn't know LC was a thing. Okay.
Right.
It is now.
Well, all right. If you're a liturgist, just turn the radio off right now.
Close your little burning ears. If you've been taught this in your diocesan liturgy classes and whatnot, they'll say Lent is a period of penance, but Advent is not a period of penance. It's a period of joyful expectation. Okay, we know it's joyful expectation. But there is no way on earth, it's completely non-historical and simply false to say that Advent was not a penitential period. It was, and it is.
Jesus wasn't with us.
In the Christian East, it always was a period of fasting and preparation. The Nativity fast, that's what the Orthodox call it. Mm-hmm. And we had in Advent, we wear purple vestments, which are the solemn color, and we had special rules of abstinence. Mm-hmm. And the Vigil of Christmas was a fast day, and the Vigil of Immaculate Conception was a fast day, and there, it was a time of penance. But the problem is, in our culture now, it's the time where all the Christmas parties occur.
So it's hard to do penance at
right, and then all the parties end on Christmas.
Yeah.
Right.
So what I would say is, please, as Catholics, use your imagination and start having parties after Christmas.
In the 12
have a 12th
days,
night party. Mm-hmm. Have a 12th night party, the Vigil of Epiphany, or start, invite people over in the octave of Christmas, and kind of change the whole idea that we're supposed to have these boozy soirees, in the middle of a period of preparation for the Lord's coming,
I feel bad. I have not been invited to a single boozy soiree. I don't think I must not be popular.
I'm sorry. I was raised Episcopalian, so that's the way I was referring to it.
But keep that sense of preparation and penance in it.
And also realize that, it is a time to do some penance, to give something up, to have some special spiritual discipline, to hold back a little bit. Now, granted, socially, we have to be kind, we have to be reasonable and charitable and normal. It's very important to be normal. as we're practicing our faith. So it doesn't mean you don't go to Christmas parties and you
Right.
don't participate in these things. But just to keep in mind that that shouldn't completely eclipse the way the world does. It eclipses the preparation period, because basically Christmas begins after Thanksgiving, and then it just ends with a screeching halt, you know, on
Well-
Christmas Day, and then it's all over.
Yeah, and I've always found that to be very sad. I love the days after Christmas leading up to the Epiphany, especially since one of my nephews was born on the Epiphany one year, and so it's just we were especially waiting that year. I have a question though. What is it about giving something up or fasting from something that allows us to better prepare for something? Maybe you could explain that to people.
Well, it's related to prayer. I think if you think, and of course, if you can see me, of course, you're going to say, well, this person shouldn't be talking about fasting. But in any case,
Stop.
but in any case, but I can give you what I understand.
All
and that
three
is-
of us
that
love
is-
food in
right,
this
right,
room.
Right. Anyway, so the fact is that we think of prayer as an activity of our soul, of our intention, our mind, our heart, but the aspect of fasting, it's good to understand it as a way in which we pray with our bodies.
Oh.
That our body longs for something that it normally would have. And it sort of teaches us on a basic level that just as my body longs for food, so my soul should long for God. You know, and so it's like the prayer of the body, and it validates or guarantees the authenticity of our prayer. You know, as our Lord says, there's certain demons that are not cast out except by prayer and fasting.
Yes.
But our Lord always combined those things, because we're soul and body. We're not just a soul. We're soul and body, and so bodily asceticism, fasting, or getting up a little earlier to pray. That's another good way in Advent, just to get up 30 minutes early and spend some time praying when you get up, or something like that.
Yeah.
Or keeping vigil, or getting up in the middle of the night, the way the early Christians would do. And then they go back to bed, but they get up at midnight and they pray, and then they go back to bed. That's
Really?
that's from the monasteries. That's what they always did. So
Yeah.
Wow.
something like that, just to remind us that our prayer is not simply a question of our intention in our heart or our soul, but also in our body. And that
That's
teaches
really
us.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So, the penitential side, but as you said, the society now thinks of this as the Christmas season, even though liturgically and properly the Christmas season follows Christmas,
Right.
just like the Easter season follows Easter. So then you get into this thing where there's a lot of, in the days leading up to Christmas, it's the last day that you're going to see everybody at work before you go on your Christmas break or
Right.
something. So everybody says Merry Christmas and
Right.
all that. And now I get sometimes people are stern with me. It's not Christmas yet. And so
They're being silly.
Okay.
Because the wish Merry Christmas means may you have a Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
When
okay.
it comes.
When-
All right. It's not saying that it's Christmas now. It's just saying Merry Christmas when it
Yeah.
comes.
well, I always
So I don't think there's any problem with saying Merry Christmas to people before Christmas when you see them, because
You're not going to see them on the day of necessarily.
right, and you're wishing
Wishing them
them
a
that they will have a Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
It could say, sometimes I would say to people Merry Christmas when it comes, or but
Yeah.
just like when someone's going to have his birthday in a few days, you go Happy Birthday, meaning when it comes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think much of the people who correct things like that, because you just wish them a Merry Christmas. Now I need a social critique from
Right.
you. So then I just say, I take it back. I hope you don't have a. No, I don't really do that far.
If
Have yourself a
terrible-
miserable Christmas.
yes.
By the way, this is Cy Kellett, and you are listening to Catholic Answers today on Radio Maria, a Christian voice in your home. We're talking with our chaplain, the chaplain here at Catholic Answers, Norbertine priest Father Hugh Barber. And you are welcome to call if you have any questions or comments you would like to make. If you'd like to just get in on the conversation, 888-318-7884 is the number, 888-318-7884.
I can remember, speaking of penance,
Yes.
and how recently this was still an expectation. There was an old priest, Monsignor Sharp, Joseph Sharp of the LA Archdiocese, and he was superintendent of schools for many years, and he was a pretty prosperous guy, you know, from his family and everything. So every year he would put on a party for, you know, like 150 of his best friends, and he would invite all these priests to this party before Christmas. But the only day that he was allowed to do it was December 7th in the evening
Because
after First Vespers of the Immaculate Conception, because he couldn't do it in Advent on a regular day because it was regarded as inappropriate
Oh.
to have a big party.
Right,
And that was
right.
clergy. The clergy, they literally, I mean, these old Irish guys, they didn't go to any parties during Advent at all back in the old days.
Because
Not at all.
they were observing the
Right. Well, or it's just that the fast was not so strict, but they observed Advent as a period of, you know, some kind of expectation or self-denial. So he would have the big party on the Immaculate Conception.
Yeah.
He could get away with it. And that went on for years. I mean, even long beyond the council when, you know, they didn't care anymore. But that was the origin. Every year to have this party on December 7th.
because the feast day is not part of the liturgical season.
Yeah,
You're
and
accepting-
he would send an invitation that would say a party is being given in your honor by Monsignor Joseph Sharp. and
That's
whatnot.
so
He sent to
awesome.
all of, you know,
What a cool guy.
he's a nice guy.
I
yeah.
love it.
He would have it in really great places too. But he, you know, as I say, he had his own independent means from his family,
well-
not from his priesthood. So don't worry.
he wasn't spending the
No, it wasn't
the
spending
coffers of the
church's money.
church.
No, that was the thing. It was all on him. It was quite
Wow.
amazing. Yeah.
I was with I've been attending the Byzantine Rite Catholic Church here for several months now, and learning about their various traditions. And
I had to say because a lot of people don't know this, the Byzantine Rite is a rite of the Catholic Church.
Yes.
It's not. You didn't leave the Catholic Church when you went to the Byzantine
no,
Rite.
no.
It's like I say the mass for the Anglican Ordinariate.
Oh,
And then the word got around in Orange County that Father Hugh had returned to
to the Anglican Church.
No.
So
I
people-
love the
people are
Anglican
like,
Ordinary at
"Nee,
Mass.
nee,
It's beautiful. It's a-
yeah, it is so beautiful. But at Holy Angels at the Byzantine Rite Catholic Church, they celebrated Saint Nicholas yesterday, and they have been, not because it was the actual
Yeah,
day,
because
but
it's
it's the
sixth-
closest
it's the
Sunday.
sixth- It's the 6th of December, yeah.
Right. But they have been fasting from meat and dairy, I think, from the 15th, you said, November
For
15th?
them, I think they have it from St. Philip's Day. They're St. Philip's Day.
Yeah. And so it was really special seeing it's a small community and everybody's really close, and everyone was so excited to eat meat yesterday. It was
Isn't that funny? That's
hilarious.
beautiful too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it brought everybody together, and it was sort of like, you know, everybody was excited, the kids, all of the adults, and that beautiful, I kind of didn't, you know, this was the first year where someone had told me that Advent could be longer and that, you know, you could give something up for it. But seeing people actually do it, they are definitely in prayerful expectation of the Lord. So
Right. No, in the Byzantine Rite, the discipline for Advent is only slightly less strict than that for Lent.
Really?
Yeah.
Only slightly, yeah.
I feel bad because I don't. I've lost my Christmas outrage. I feel like you're supposed to be outraged now at this season. You're supposed to be outraged if someone says Happy Holidays. I don't feel
Well,
outraged
that's like
by that.
There's this traditionalist magazine that says, you know, sustain the outrage. No,
Oh, really?
Forget that. Forget it.
So
Forget sustaining the outrage.
I don't
Outra-
remember. I
outrage
don't
is
remember that.
exhausting,
I don't remember that part of the
so-
Sermon on the Mount where Jesus said, "Blessed are the outraged." But we
Right.
love our outrage, and I feel like a greeting of Happy Holidays. It's like I say, say, you know, a few days before Christmas, and I'm at 7-Eleven getting, I don't know, something holy. I don't know, from 7-Eleven. I don't want to admit that it would be
Slurpee, for
yeah,
example.
a holy
Diet
Slurpee. Yeah, okay.
Coke.
So say I am. I will say Merry Christmas to people because I think it's okay to say Merry Christmas. But if
course it
someone
is.
says Happy Holidays to me, I don't feel like I need to
You're out to
I
get
need to
me.
hit them in the face with Merry Christmas, like Merry Christmas, like I'm.
Well, holidays is
Yeah.
holy days.
Yeah.
I
You
hope
know, I mean-
everybody just saw that on the live stream.
No, but I used to get a kick out of it though, in the South Coast Plaza Mall in Orange County when I would pick some things up before Christmas, and I'm there in my clerical suit, you know, with a collar,
Yeah.
And of course, they're all of these checkers in the stores are taught to say Happy Holidays.
Right.
They don't dare say Merry Christmas.
Although
They don't dare say it. And so when I look at me, they say, well, oh, Happy Holidays. And I kind of point at the column and go, you can say Merry Christmas to me.
it's funny.
Like that. And then they would kind of laugh and go, oh, yeah, Father, thank you. Merry Christmas.
Oh my goodness.
Because it's just ridiculous. They're actually taught not to say Merry Christmas.
But
and that's perverse.
That is perverse, and I've noticed that some stores, like I have noticed at Walmart, it seems like Walmart probably lets their people say whatever they want. Like, oh, why are you looking at me like I?
So I think they're allowed to say whatever they want.
Well, like it seems like there's none of the Happy Holidays stuff there, unless the person, like, you just say whatever you want. Say Happy Hanukkah if you want. Like, it just seems like they don't have a policy.
That's
It's Hanukkah right now.
It is Hanukkah, right? Yeah.
That's what I would love if, wherever you were shopping at, the faith of, that company, business, whatever, if they just said, Merry Christmas if they're Christian, or, Happy Hanukkah if they're Jewish, whatever it might be, and just
Happy May Day if they're communists.
Yeah.
No, it's a little early for May Day. And besides, that's the feast of St. Joseph the Worker.
I know. I'm just
That is not
I'm
May
just
Day.
being a little ironic.
I get it.
No, the point is, it's a polite. When you live with other people in a society that is mixed, then you acknowledge their celebrations if they're decent, if they're appropriate.
Right,
And
right.
so that's perfectly understandable. Yeah.
Yeah. So, right. And I also feel like in a pluralist society, which I don't know, maybe you'll correct me. Maybe as a Catholic, I'm not supposed to love being. I don't know what the rules are, but like you live with Jews. It's okay to say Happy Holidays. I mean, because they have holidays too. Like you live with people who celebrate Kwanzaa. I mean, I know Kwanzaa was just invented by a criminal a few years ago, but that doesn't mean everybody who celebrates Kwanzaa is like, that's a holiday. Happy Holidays. It's.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else.
Our sub-prior at the Abbey always gave me a Kwanzaa card every year. So
Did he? God bless him.
yes, yeah.
You're just saying it's. I mean, I think what you're getting at is that there's no good in being overly sensitive and closed off to people. You should just
maybe just try to be
Well,
joyful.
the point of the
a
Savior's
joyful
coming.
Christian.
The point of the Savior's coming is to bestow His charity upon the human race,
Yeah.
to save and heal them. So, if we're just being really picky about these things, it can be a little tiresome. And,
Well-
and you have to consider the person you're dealing with. If they're capable of understanding your objection, or you have such a relationship with that person that you can explain why you're instructing them, like you really could observe this custom rather than that in the way you speak. Then and they're open to it because you have a relationship with them. Fine, but when you just have a random person
Sure.
and you respond as though you're offended, it's just
Yeah.
it's not normal. Basically, that's the problem. It's not normal.
No,
it's
then
like
you
you might as well be a communist revolutionary, just like
No, right. That's how a communist revolutionary, like with your imperialist happy holidays, don't like that. Come on, be a Christian. But I don't mind also the bumper stickers that say "Keep Christ in Christmas" either. I mean, sometimes you kind of get the feeling like the way the bumper sticker
we should
looks.
say keep the mass in Christmas.
That's the thing.
That's what we should say.
I saw a bumper sticker that said
For all
that.
the mega churches.
Keep the mass in Christmas, and I thought that's hilarious
Yeah,
because that's got to drive the Calvary Chapel people
They're
crazy.
forced to say mass.
But
They're
why
forced
are we
to say
all
it over and
trying-
over again.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
I know. You're like,
Mass.
what is mass? You should say that to them. Oh, really? Thank you. What is mass? But it does seem like we're all trying to get under each other's skins. Like years ago in Southern California when I was commuting, and it may still be going on, but I'm not attending to it anymore. So I'm stuck in traffic in Southern California. It seemed like there was a sticker war on the why are you all acting like I'm
We're
we're talking about the
feel
traffic.
for
I was
you.
4 hours
It's terrible.
4 hours on the freeway between San Diego and LA on Friday afternoon. So
Oh,
I tell
really?
you, the traffic
Yeah.
is just
And it's cold out. It's 46 degrees, and I'm freezing.
46 degrees.
No, but there was this thing where people had a fish on the back of their car, and the
Oh.
fish is so that
ancient Christian
The
symbol.
early Christian fish.
myself I like the cross better as a symbol, but I'm okay with the fish. Okay, so the fish there,
Well,
right?
the fish was deliberately, esoteric, so that
so that other people wouldn't.
Right.
Yeah, but and then you had these other people who put feet on the fish.
Yeah.
And
What?
then they put Darwin's name in because it was like the fish was evolving. So this is like saying I don't believe in your Jesus, I believe in Darwin. Okay, which is a non sequitur, anyways. But all right, allow them that.
Yeah.
And then there would be Christian people who had a fish, but it was eating the little Darwin fish. So now, right?
It's
And then it was like and then I'm thinking, that's not, at a certain point, this is
I
not
say
Christian anymore.
Ban bumper stickers.
I don't
Get
really
rid
like
of them.
No, you should
either.
have a Catholic Answers bumper
It's
sticker
not. It's
and
not
a Radio
it's-
Maria
it's-
bumper
it's
sticker.
Bad rhetoric.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
No, well, yeah, something that's just advertising a service, that's okay.
Yeah.
But forcing someone with whom you're not going to have an actual dialogue
Yeah.
to hear what you think,
Don't go look at my car.
then
I just have one
it's-
sticker.
I
I
like
personally
your
think
sticker.
I personally think it's wrong.
Yeah.
Even for things that are good, I think that just making someone
Yeah.
hear what you say
Yeah.
without any possibility of their responding is just not fair.
Well,
So-
you are a true Christian. Now, yours says...
No, I just don't like it.
Yours
It's-
says unborn lives matter.
Mine,
Is
yeah,
that
I
your
have
car?
I have a magnet on the back of my car, and that is what it says. But I have to say, generally, I detest bumper stickers, and I wouldn't have one on there. But it has started a lot of good conversations for
Well, that's
me.
the thing. If it starts conversations, like in the parking lot or
Yeah,
something.
I've
fine.
had ladies stop at the back of my car and say, what does this mean? Or, I was just talking with somebody about this yesterday. It turns out babies are people too, and, things
Well,
like
good.
that.
Well, that's
so,
the very thing I'm concerned about. Is just that it should start some kind of communication.
Now,
I think you're both
I
wrong
will
because
say-
I love the person
You're
who's
stuck in traffic for so
Yeah,
long.
the person who just covers the back of their car with bumper stickers, and they all have a kind of a theme, and the theme seems a little out there. Maybe it's a slightly libertarian UFO
It's like coexist,
theme,
and then
or
there's
it's
a Bernie Sanders thing, and then
or it's
there's
all
this
these
and that.
different.
Right.
I just love sitting there reading all the bumper stickers, and
Well, that's a
and
little different because they're
tells you
so
a lot about
expressive
the
that they actually
person.
are trying to communicate.
I feel like
you know.
they're entertaining the
It's a
entire world.
Volkswagen bus. Is that what it is usually? Yeah.
No, it's all. Yeah, that's true. Probably usually something like that. Sorry, Marie. I believe
No,
I interrupted
I
you.
mean, if you're going to have a bumper sticker on the back of your car, I will say, if you don't, I've thought of this several times since I put this on a few months ago, maybe 6 months ago. If you're not driving well on the road and you're being unchristian to people, if you cut somebody off or whatever, and people are crazy drivers here, they're seeing the sticker on the back of your car that says unborn lives matter. And then if they're
They're like,
already
"Those people are-"
pro-choice, they're like, wow, but born lives don't matter because
Yeah,
you just almost killed me on the freeway.
Right, right.
So I don't know.
My favorite bumper sticker is one I cannot say the entire text on the air, but let's just say it just says it's the best bumper sticker, and it tells everybody all they need to
remember
know for
this.
their day. Mean people, blank. All right, I won't say it on the air, but anyway, it's just very, very true.
Everybody knows what you're talking
Everybody
about.
knows
You know-
that if you're mean, forget it.
Yeah, stop
Just
being
don't
mean.
be mean. All right, that's
Yeah.
that's like
Yeah.
that's the first thing.
That's very base level. Don't be mean. It's not the fullness of the gospel,
Kindergarten
but it's a good
rules.
start.
Well,
Don't
it's
be
better
mean.
than be nice. It's just don't
Yeah.
be mean.
Yeah,
That's more
don't-
important.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know?
right.
Right.
Again, you're listening to Catholic Answers today on Radio Maria US, a Christian voice in your home. You can listen to us streaming on radiomaria.us. We also are streaming today on our Facebook page, the Catholic Answers Facebook page, or the Catholic Answers YouTube page, all those places. And we're talking with assistant producer Marie and our chaplain, Father Hugh Barber, about Advent and bumper stickers. I don't know how we got off on bumper
Well,
stickers, but
it's
because
okay.
of the Christmas.
The reason for the season,
the bumper stickers are not
I
the
hate
reason
that
for the
phrase. I'm
season.
sorry.
No, it was a keep Christ in Christmas. And I
Yes.
said keep the
Yeah.
Mass in Christmas.
Keep the Mass
That's
in
how we got
Christmas,
started
yeah.
on it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, but now I would like to switch because I know you have another topic that you take a great deal of interest in, and I love to hear you talk about it. It's one of my favorite things.
We
and
can't wait to hear
and
the
frankly,
topic.
and frankly, you talk about it a lot. I'm going to tell you
Oh,
right
I know
now.
what
You
it
talk
is.
about this a lot.
Can I guess,
Yeah,
actually?
yeah. Go ahead. Yes.
Is it the dead?
It is praying for the dead.
Yes. Sorry, that sounded a little weird just by
It's
itself.
not the dead, okay?
No,
Praying
they're
for
the
the dead.
majority of the human race, so
Yeah, the vast majority of the human race. There was an article a few years ago that I remember just loving. It was in Atlantic Magazine, I think. It said how many people have lived in the entire history of the human race, and it's about 100 billion people. And there's 7 or maybe 7.5 billion people on the earth right now. So the vast majority of humanity has gone on.
So take that, democracy.
Yeah. Well, the tradition is
All the
democracy
dead are
that includes
Catholics.
all of them.
All of them
All
know
the
the truth perfectly, whether they're good or bad. And they know their mere opinions don't matter.
Wait a second. Now I need to clarify something because I had a hook for this conversation. But the dead who die like evil, they die not in a state of friendship with God. Okay, they know the truth too.
Of course.
Oh, I didn't know.
Well, they undergo the particular judgment. You know,
so
at the hour of their death. No, they know they're confronted with the truth about God and themselves.
Okay.
And all of that. Yeah. So they have no illusions. Just like the demons don't have any illusions.
Everything becomes
the
clear.
demons, as St. Paul says, the demons believe and tremble. I mean, they're Catholics. You know.
They know. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Not nice ones, but they have no heretical ideas. They may promote them,
but they don't really
deceive
believe
people.
them.
But they don't really believe
They know
it.
the
No,
truth.
they know the truth. Yeah.
They know Jesus is Lord.
They absolutely.
They'll never
know.
say it.
They would even say it if they could mislead someone that way.
Oh.
Remember, our Lord kept telling them to shut up
Oh yeah.
when they're trying to reveal His identity before the time.
Oh.
So
yeah.
so they can use it the wrong way, but
Yeah. Okay. So, wow, that's by the way, how long does the particular judgment take? Okay, so you die and then you go before Jesus, and I see him sitting on a throne. This is the way I see it. I think Mary is there. I'm hoping for that.
Yeah, it's like,
because I feel like I might need that
please.
help. Like, could you say something now?
Yeah.
But
Okay, now that we've gone through all of the bad things.
but how long does it take? How long are you there with?
well, the thing is, once the soul is separated from the body,
Yeah.
then you go into a different type of duration or time than you would have in this life.
Okay.
Because in this life, time is measured by the movement of our body
Yeah.
in
okay.
relation to other bodies, the
Right.
sun, the moon, the stars. You know, it's like
Yeah,
a calendar.
the heartbeats, the breaths,
right?
all
The
that.
hours, the minutes, and
Yeah.
all that.
Right.
But when you're dead, or as people like to say, when you've passed away, all right. As people like to say now, it says, no, when you're dead,
Yeah.
dead.
Deal with it.
All right,
Dead is
you're
dead. Yeah.
Okay. When you're dead, your soul has a different experience of a duration that's based upon acts of knowledge and of will, of knowing and of choosing. So it's what's called discrete. That is, it doesn't go on in a flow. It happens now, and then now, and then now, and then now. And sometimes that's described as being like instantaneous, and other times it's described as being unbelievably long,
Yeah.
because we don't have a direct comparison with our own earthly experience to
Oh, yeah.
explain that.
Right.
And so you get both considerations. But you'd say the particular judgment, from a certain point of view, it's instantaneous. From another point of view, based upon the soul's need for purification or instruction, it might seem to be very long.
I see.
And we don't have any direct revelation about this. All we have are private revelations about the quality of the particular judgment. It's basically for our instruction. There's certain aspects of it that we're taught about. So sometimes they make it sound like it's really, really long and painful. Other times they make it sound like it's really instantaneous. And a good text to read is Pope Benedict's treatment of the particular judgment in his encyclical Spe Salvi, his encyclical on hope.
Yeah.
By Pope
Okay.
Benedict. He has a beautiful presentation of
It's my favorite
his-
encyclical of all
his-
time.
Is it?
Yeah, I love it.
his presentation of the encounter of the soul with Jesus at the particular judgment. But in the Eastern tradition, they tend to view the particular judgment as taking a while,
Uh-huh.
and of kind of being a process of being confronted with your different faults and whatnot. But they emphasize very much the devil's making an issue of God's mercy towards you, and so this sort of constant little back and forth.
So the devil is there saying no, he
No,
did this,
and
or
your
he did that.
your angel defends you, and then you kind of go to the next step and the next.
Well, I
step
got to be
and the next
nicer to
step.
my angel.
Yeah.
If he's going to be defending
But
me.
that's in the Eastern tradition. It's what the tradition they call the toll houses, that where you're just going along, and it's, you see those icons of like the different levels of judgment, and the different vices, and you're examining each one of them.
Oy.
And the
Okay.
devils are like asking for their money, and the angels are saying, no, it's okay, And then you get by the one after the other. Those are all images. They're not part of Christian revelation, but they indicate that they indicate that our life is a spiritual struggle that we've been surrounded our whole life, not just with our own moral activities, but intense interest on the part of the saints and angels who want God to be glorified and us to be saints, and on the part of the demons who want to drag us down. And so in death, that's kind of revealed that you go like, oh my goodness, I didn't know.
They've all been here this
I
whole
didn't
time.
know that everything I was doing was so important to these mighty spirits.
Yeah.
That they're really interested in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
and they're like, you know, making an issue of it. So St. Thomas has a beautiful way of presenting it. He says that no, those who are saved after death, they're not punished or terrified by the demons, but the demons look on them with an avidity and accompany them wherever they're going, maybe the purgatory,
Interesting.
so that they can see if they can keep something that belongs to them. If you think of like screw tape letters, where the
Yes.
demons are
Yeah.
like, yeah, I want that.
Or
you know?
it kind of makes me think, I mean, also in The Great Divorce, that,
Yeah,
that
that's
image of
right.
trying to keep one foot in hell and one foot in heaven.
That's a book
sort
by
of.
C.S. Lewis.
Yeah.
A very good one. And
Yes.
it's a very good one to give to Protestants because C.S. Lewis was a Protestant
Yeah.
who never wanted to become a Catholic no matter what people say. He did not want to be a Catholic. Sorry.
Having to do with his Irish.
Just from Northern
background.
Ireland,
Yeah,
you know.
it was
Anyway,
that,
it's
right.
a little bit different.
That would have been a bridge to cross.
It's a
That was very-
social problem for
Right,
him.
yeah.
But it's a book that shows that there is in Protestantism an understanding that you know you just don't go straight to heaven after death. That
Yeah.
There's a possibility of purification and growth.
And that you can't, you know, embrace God with half of your heart and give your heart to sin, the other half of your heart to sin. You
Yeah.
have to you have to jump in.
Yeah.
I have a question in regards to what you said. So, is that why it's so important for us to continue to pray for people?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So maybe you could talk a little bit about. I mean, often at Catholic Answers, you've said requiem masses for people, and you know you've talked about the importance of praying for the dead. And somebody asked an interesting question to me a few weeks ago about how do we know how long should we be doing that for? Should we be praying for them for the rest of our life? Should we pray for them for a certain amount of time? What does the church sort of understand about that?
Well, generally, the church commemorates the departed, permanently, you might say, unless they're canonized, in which case, then they're saints. But there's a beautiful story about Padre Pio, Saint Padre Pio. He would say Mass every week for the repose of the soul of his parents. And he did that every single week. But then in a conversation with his confreres, he mentioned, that his parents are praying for him from heaven. And so they said, well, if they're in heaven, why are you still saying Mass for them?
Right.
And he said, well, they're in heaven because God knew that I was going to say Mass for them for the rest of my life.
Oh,
yeah.
I love him.
Yeah.
Oh
No,
my
he's just
gosh,
very
what a
practical,
great-
like, well, God knew, I'm paying it forward,
Yes,
Like,
right.
And,
Oh my goodness.
yeah.
Padre Pio is something else.
Yeah, he really is. But no, the church's practice is to commemorate the departed for centuries. I mean, in monasteries, for example, you have a book called a necrologium, a list of the dead, and you have the dates on which they died, and then the divine office, the day before their anniversary, the names of the dead are read out. It's like the martyrology. You read the saints of the next day, and then you read the names of the departed. And like in our abbey, of course, it could have gone back to the 1200s, but the Turks came, and so
so you don't have the records.
Records were destroyed. But our earliest ones go to the 1500s, and so
You're still praying
They're
for brothers.
commemorating them. People that died in the 1500s or the 1700s or the 1800s. Just always commemorating them.
It ain't going to hurt them.
No, definitely not.
President George W. Bush, the 41st president
Right.
of the United States, died. Okay, so now you've probably infected me, Father, but every time I hear someone died, I immediately say a prayer for them now.
Very good.
Yeah, okay,
He's
good.
training us up
That's
to
good.
be better Catholics.
That's what you got to do.
Okay, so
And he certainly needs our prayers because the St. Gregory the Great teaches regarding prayer for the dead that the higher a person's office, the greater the burden they bear in the world to come. And St. Gregory was very clear. He said even if the person's very holy,
yeah.
They
their
had a large-
defects
affected so many people.
so many people and caused more injustices or
Yeah.
disorders that even
Right.
if they themselves are really virtuous, they still have a greater debt because of their because of the universality of their activity. So he
Yes.
pointed out that popes need prayers. Unlike nowadays, where all popes go to heaven as soon as they die, but that isn't true because their responsibilities are so great that prayer for them is a very important thing to do. And same with presidents and kings and persons in authority. It's very important.
Yeah.
So, is there a traditional, like, short prayer that Catholics should say when, like, say you hear about someone died? Okay, so you're watching the news, or whatever, and President Bush died, and you want to say a prayer. Should it just be, from the heart kind of thing, or is there a traditional prayer to pray at that moment?
Well, I mean, the traditional prayer is eternal rest grant unto him or her, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon him. May he rest in peace.
Okay.
May his soul and the souls of all the faithful departed, in the mercy of God, rest in peace. That's the classic prayer. But also a nice short one is from the funeral liturgy. Pie Jesu Domine, done is requiem. Kind Jesus, Lord, grant them eternal rest.
Kind
And that's
Jesus,
kind of
Lord.
nice because it has the name of Jesus in it, so it's a particularly nice one,
Okay. Well, you raised your hand.
I know.
First of all,
I'm
you don't have to
sorry.
raise your
I
hand.
used to be a teacher.
So apparently you have a prayer that you have in mind.
Well, no, not a particular prayer, but I do have to say that in my family, it is sort of tradition to, if we hear that somebody's died, to ask Our Lady to accompany them to her son. And so, we will say,
Uh-huh.
Blessed Mother, please walk with them as they go towards God. But
That's good.
we also say with our meal prayer each night, just the end of the prayer that you said.
Right. The souls of faith part of the mercy of God
Rest in peace. Yeah.
That is not a tradition we had in my family. We always prayed. I come from a big Catholic family, but we didn't add that to the meal prayer. That's kind of a cool thing to do.
Well, the way it was originally is that you said the blessing before the meal,
yeah,
and then you had grace after the meal.
yeah.
And classically, the grace after the meal included the prayer for the departed. But then later on, when people stopped saying the grace after the meal, they still kept the little prayer for departed and said it at the beginning.
Okay.
And I know a lot of Catholic families around here, they say it.
Yeah.
But
So
at
if
the
you're like a
beginning.
Catholic family having dinner, you should. Okay, so you say the blessing before the meal, then everybody eats and looks at their cell phones for the entire meal.
Oh my
and then
gosh.
is that right?
No.
I thought that's how it's. No.
Okay, continue.
And then you say a grace after the meal. Okay.
Right, yeah.
Is that's
That's traditional, yeah.
the cell phone part too?
No, I don't know about that.
Sorry, just goofing around.
I'll get you more time in purgatory.
Yeah, I imagine so. Yeah, right. Well, people have to make
Unless
rules.
you were looking at Catholic Answers stuff,
Yeah, at
Right,
Catholic.com,
right.
where you can find all
Catholic.com.
answers to all of your questions about the Catholic faith.
Actually, though.
Catholic.com.
Yeah, my family got I don't know. We've said that forever. My grandparents said it forever, and I recently had dinner with this really sweet little family that I'm friends with from church, and they have all young kids, and they say the prayer after the Bless Us, O Lord meal prayer.
Right.
And their 7-year-old looked at me and said, "How do you know that prayer?" And I said, "We say it too."
That's a beautiful thing that's why I wanted to ask you if there's a traditional thing, because it's always good as Catholics when we share these things in common, kind of like there's capital T tradition, like, the Immaculate Conception of Mary. This is very important that we share this in common. But traditions too are good for the community, just that this is how we handle, and you know what? And I'm going to even say something here that is, I didn't mean to, but my wife was not raised a Christian. She was raised in a secular home. And when we were dating, we went to my grandfather's funeral. And she later told me that the funeral for my grandfather was the beginning of her being open to the Catholic faith, because she said, those people really know what to do when somebody dies. Like, they all knew what to do. And isn't that funny that opened up. That was the beginning of her conversion.
Yeah.
So I think those things are good when we all know, okay, this is what we do in this situation.
And also
Sorry,
a lot
I'm
of
over
those.
here tearing up a little bit. That's really sweet, though.
Yeah.
But also the even the small T traditions, as they're mentioned, in St. Basil's treatise on the Holy Spirit, he gives a whole list of what we would call small T traditions that are apostolic in origin.
Oh, really?
That is, I mean, the things that are not dogmas necessarily, that are just customs, still, very many of them go back to the apostles, like some form of the sign of the cross, for example.
Really?
Yeah, and the use of holy water and other things like that. So even if they're not like the principal dogmas of the faith,
They're still.
the Christian church has traditions that go all the way back to the beginning.
I think a lot of Catholics have lost. They don't believe that anymore. They think that like the apostolic history is like so far back in ancient times nobody knows, but that's not true.
True. If you read St. Basil's treatise on the Holy Spirit, which you can get at the New Advent website, if you go to Fathers of the Church, St. Basil, he has a whole list of customs in the church that he says go back to the apostles.
And all right, so now I'm going to come full circle then, because I believe, but I don't believe like as a matter of faith. I just have this very strong inclination in this direction, that the church has the date of Jesus' birth right, that's an apostolic tradition. And I say that because the church is already celebrating very, very early. I mean, at least we know in the late 200s, early 300s, December 25th was remembered as a date. But, okay, go ahead, correct me.
No, I'm just thinking, I mean, the earliest date for the celebration of the Lord's birth is the date of Epiphany.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah,
That's the
so
earliest
January
one.
6th.
That's like the Armenian church
Right.
doesn't even have, at least the Armenian Orthodox Church doesn't have Christmas. Doesn't have
just
December
celebrate.
25th. They just have but it's a feast of the manifestation of the incarnation. So it's Christ's birth, the coming of the wise men, the marriage at Cana, the baptism in the Jordan.
Oh,
And
it's all
those
celebrated on the
things
6th
all
of January?
together, right?
Okay.
And then a little bit later, but you're right, it's fairly early. A little bit later, they established the feast of Christmas in December, and the original name of it in the Roman calendar was the birth giving of Blessed Mary. It was the emphasis was on her
Giving birth.
Partus Beata Maria, her birth giving, and then in that tradition, then the other revelations were separated out. So you get the wise men and Epiphany and Cana, the wise men and Cana and the baptism later.
Yeah.
And the Roman
Which
Rite,
also- right.
Roman Rite, we normally think of the three kings for Epiphany, but actually, if you look at the liturgy of the time, it also is the baptism. That's the octave and all that.
Okay.
So they kind of spread them all out, but certainly it's appropriate because it's that, the winter solstice, right? So it's the shortest day of the year is right around. It
Right.
was December 25th, but then now it's moved back. It's December 21st or whatever.
Yeah.
But the idea is that now the days grow.
The light,
Longer,
the
right.
light,
The light
is coming into
increases,
the world.
right, yeah.
Well, you've been listening to Catholic Answers today on Radio Maria US. I am Cy Kellett, your host. Marie, thank you for being our co-host this hour.
Thank you for having me. This was really great.
And Father Hugh Barber, our chaplain, delighted to have you with us this morning.
Here
Thank
I
you very,
am.
very much.
Always at your service.
Appreciate it. You can always get in touch with us. Just go to Catholic.com. You can find out how to get in touch with us. Father, may we have your blessing before we go.
Benedictio Dei omnipotentis Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti descendat super vos et maniat semper.
Amen. We'll see you next time. Oh, blessed Advent to you. And we'll see you next time on Catholic Answers Today.